Guys, welcome back for episode number 14 of Kick Talk. We've got a really cool episode coming up. Unfortunately, this episode got slightly delayed previously, but good news is we're back and we're making it happen. We got Kristabyte coming on from Right to Unmute, sorry, and also Hanridge, which is going to be really, really cool. Hanridge is an OG Kick user, whilst Kristabyte is a bit of a legend in the scene here. So it's going to be a really interesting talk.
Unmute.gg, and her handle is Kristabyte. But just to set it up real quick, right? So Kristabyte, we worked with her on the last DreamHack to set up our IRL policy. She really helped us shape it with DreamHack. She was very, very vocal and outspoken against Kick when it first came out. I think she was quoted as calling us the playground for degenerates. So we reached out to her and we formed a relationship. And we were like, hey, we definitely don't want to be known as the platform for degenerates. Can you help us out in crafting an IRL policy? And we did it with Dallas and it went flawlessly. And we have it implemented here for Atlanta. And we also added it to our own IRL policy on our guidelines. So I just want to make it very clear. Kristabyte is outspoken. She does not mean, she wants to speak her mind, and she does. And that's why we invited her on, was to have an honest discussion about where Kick is headed and get notes from her and see if she can continue to help us out. Cool. So are you cool if I bring her in?
Yeah, hell yeah, let's do it.
Kristabyte, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. I got to get my microphone situation still keep going. All right. But perfect. You're up and going. So I'm still teching over here. They're helping me out. So I did the best intro that I could for you. Thanks so much for joining us. This is huge for us.
Super happy to be here. It sounds a lot better than it did before in your background, just to be honest. Like, it's not as loud as it was. So
excellent.
Andrew, you're perfect now. If they're playing around and like trying to get it better, like you're right on. So I think we're situated.
Cool.
Hey, Krista, thank you so much for coming on. I think we had a I think you had to push back 1 week and then I had to push back 1 week, but we're here now. We've got it happening. We're finally.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about that. It was I was at TwitchCon, so I didn't realize it was that day, and I was like, oh my gosh. Crazy, but appreciate it. Excited to be here.
Were you thinking of going to DreamHack or?
I was at DreamHack Dallas and I loved it. We had our booth there. It was amazing. It was honestly my favorite convention of the year. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting here with you guys, but like legitimately was my favorite event that I've been to. And I've been to a lot of conventions. So that was my favorite one. I'm kind of feeling a lot of FOMO not being at DreamHack right now. But the temptation I have to drive to Atlanta right now is so high, you have no idea.
Yeah, what I take it. I've been watching on just social media and stuff and seeing what everyone's posting. It seems like it's I know. I definitely feel like I'm missing out over here on the wrong side of the world right now. I unfortunately can't drive over there to make it. It's just a casual 24-hour flight, but I definitely get where you're coming from.
No big deal, right? Just hop on a 24-hour flight. You got it. It's fine.
Hey, Krista, I've got a few questions quickly for you, and then I was thinking I'll just hand it straight on over to you to ask pretty much whatever you're thinking.
I hope you're ready.
Yeah, I'm always ready. Like I've been saying to Andrew, we love having good discussions. I think healthy, good discussions is what we're after here. But just quickly on Unmute, I know some people know about it. Some people may not have heard about it. For people who are first time, tuning in here, what is kind of Unmute and sort of, what are you almost kind of hoping to achieve? What's your goals of Unmute?
Yeah, so Rise to Unmute, we established it back in February of this year. It's our 501c3 charity, and what we do, we actively combat racism, misogyny, bigotry, and harassment in online gaming spaces. Now, we do that through 3 different ways. We do it through social advocacy, which we have our own social media platform. We're building our own app. We do a lot of co-ed tournaments because we want to not only, emphasize that everybody should be playing together, but to create like an inclusive space for everybody to play and compete, because the more we normalize that, the more it's more abundant and, people find it as more normal. And, and the last piece is education. So a lot of the things that we do surround, kind of teaching the world that it's not all rainbows and butterflies in the gaming space. And it's 2024. We shouldn't be having the same conversations we had 10, 15 years ago. So it's time to do something about it. So a lot of our stuff stems from education and white papers and lots of data driven things, if you will.
Awesome. What and in terms of the organization itself, how many of you guys currently involved in Right to Unmute?
Yeah, so the team itself is very small. We are just a group of volunteers. We all have normal jobs. My co-founder is a kick streamer. Her name is Steffi Evans. I'm not sure if she's watching, but if you are, hello. She's an incredible person. I love her with my whole heart. And we have a small group. It's mainly her and I, and we have a small group of volunteers that help us kind of execute the day to day. But yeah, very, very small team as it stands.
Awesome. No, it sounds like an incredible initiative. And I think, like you said, taking very much a very heavy data-driven approach instead of some of these more sort of typical ways at looking at issues. And I guess that's trying to actually make a visible difference in terms of straight up data. I love hearing that. That sounds awesome. In terms of just like the fundraising side of it, you mentioned obviously, Right to Unmute is a charity and a fundraising. Just for anyone listening here, what sort of programs does that sort of funding potentially help to support specifically if someone was looking to lend a hand?
Yeah, absolutely. So our fundraising efforts go through a few different things that you can actually go towards, right? So the main thing we do are those co-ed tournaments. So we try to raise a prize pool for everybody that participates. Additionally, we use those funds rather, to again do some data-driven research, get those people on the ground, do the white papers and all the rest of it, and pay the team that we have. We also do live events as well. So we have our first event was at DreamHack. We were invited from the team there to come, and we established ourselves in a very, I want to say, loud capacity. Nobody could miss our booth. It literally lit up the entire area. So it was, we do a lot of that as well, kind of like grassroots on the ground, talking about all the things. We actually had to adjust what our booth said because the data points that we had on it, they said, well, you can't actually have that data point on there because it could be jarring. This is a family friendly place. Let's make sure that, it's not, we don't have to cover it up. So we had to adjust what we put on our booth itself because some of the things that we do talk about are very jarring. And that's the thing. We don't shy away from the hard conversations. We don't shy away from, telling somebody that they're wrong. I mean, the reason why I'm sitting here is because I was cited in an article. That's the only reason you guys even know I exist. So that kind of thing is kind of what we do. Be loud, speak up.
Yeah. No, well, nowadays you need to be loud to be able to be heard, right? There's a lot of people trying to push a lot of great initiatives, but at the end of the day, you need to do exactly that. Just out of curiosity, what did you try putting on the booth that you had to change over because it was too jarring? Is it? I assume it's okay to stay on live stream.
There's a lot. So the main heading of our site basically, is, are you tired of being told to kill yourself in online games? They were like, you can't put that on your booth. And I was like, oh, okay. So we had to adjust that. There was some statistics about sexual harassment that were on there that we had to kind of censor, if you will. But thankfully, I asked them before I got everything printed, so we were good. We didn't have to cover anything. We were good on that sense. Still got the point across.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that certainly going to attract some attention. But what I guess that's at the end of the day, right? That's exactly where this has been derived from. Steffi, the other people involved in this initiative have been gaming yourselves and have to deal with this kind of this bullshit, right? And I guess that's where you kind of said, hold on a second, other people are going through this too. We're going to try and get ahead of the curve and try to, get some support around it because I guess, the world is changing in terms of gaming and heck, it's, no one should have to put up with that, let alone obviously, it certainly sounds like a great thing to be talking up about, and it sounds like you're already making a difference based on the
I'm trying
based on how things are going. But with that said, I'm happy to hand it over to you. Like you said, you probably have a few questions for us, and like I'm really looking forward to hopefully giving you some of the answers you're looking for. Otherwise, at least invoking a healthy discussion around how we as Kick can do better, how we can better support incredible efforts like yours, or how we can again help to promote what healthy gaming looks like.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I didn't mention this before, but we're not trying to get rid of toxicity in gaming as well. Like some people don't really understand the difference between toxicity and harassment, so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to define that line. It's awesome to tell somebody that they're dog shit at a game, right? Like I love telling people that they suck, but I'm not trying to get rid of that. Stephanie and I are not trying to get rid of that. More so, just the line where you step over, where you start harassing people because of who they are. That's the distinction there. And to be honest, like I just want to give you guys credit because not many companies will come to us and say, hey, we saw what you wrote, we saw what you said. How do we fix it? So, like, the fact that I'm even sitting here chatting with you guys about how to improve your platform just shows that you care. And it's just a testament to, what you're trying to establish. And I just wanted to give you guys credit before we jump into all of the questions that I do have for you. So,
No, 100%. I think that's what we're, the biggest thing with Kick has been the fact that we've received so much feedback on so many different types of topics. And everything we've done has really been based around what people have guided us towards, right? It's been such a learning curve getting into the streaming space nearly 2 years ago and quickly understanding there is a lot to it. There is a lot of different communities. There is a lot of different aspects to how we have to run the platform. And at the end of the day, we've had to receive some pretty no nonsense feedback in terms of what we were doing wrong. And we've had some positive feedback as well. But, at the end of the day, it's that feedback that helps shape what the platform's doing. So, whether it's good, whether it's bad, as long as it's invoking change, I like to think that, it's positive for everyone. So again, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm happy to answer anything you've got coming our way.
definitely. Yeah. So we'll jump into it. So we'll get into the nitty gritty, right? So I wanted to chat to you firstly about TwitchCon and everything that happened there. So obviously, for a fact there was issues with some of your bigger streamers and, causing issues and all the rest of it. But I just want to know, coming out of that, what proactive measures are you implementing or have implemented or, in the process of implementing to support, to prevent similar situations in the future? Your biggest names typically have, the biggest sway in how the world perceives the platform, right? And ultimately, they're not doing you any good, So what are you doing to kind of prevent similar situations to happen, in the future?
Yeah, so I think when it came to TwitchCon, some of the feedback and the backlash Kick got as a platform was certainly upsetting to see, right? I think we all came out of that and felt like, wow, this is pretty rough. At the end of the day, no different to people who stream on Kick. People who work on Kick as well don't want to be reflected in a way that is seen as being completely toxic, and some of the clips that were out there were definitely, I don't think, a fair reflection of the whole entire platform. I think TwitchCon, I mentioned this online, right? I think TwitchCon is an absolutely incredible event. They put on an amazing convention. And I think for a long, long time, that has allowed people from YouTube, from Facebook Gaming, from Mixer, like everyone goes there. It's not just TwitchCon. It's called TwitchCon, right? But it's for streamers. It's for content creators, right? It's for everyone. And Kick is a part of that, right? We're part of that Kick ecosystem. A lot of Kick streamers were at TwitchCon. I would safely say in the hundreds of people who use Kick frequently were at TwitchCon. And obviously there were a couple of people who made headlines, and I think, at that point started to reflect on the platform pretty badly. I think, what we went ahead and did is obviously, suspended quite a few accounts. I think our biggest overstep there was that we weren't prepared for it, in the sense that we thought the TwitchCon, being the fact that it's Twitch related, we kind of, weren't fully understanding of how many Kick streamers were going to be there. Obviously the IRL section filled up quickly. We didn't have a chance to put out a notice and say, hey guys, we expect a certain level of behavior. No different to DreamHack Dallas. Right now, DreamHack Dallas is happening. DreamHack Atlanta is happening right now. We put the communications out early. Proactively, we've made sure everyone understands exactly what's expected. The moderation team is doubled down to make sure they're watching every single stream that is there. But TwitchCon, we just didn't expect there to be that many people. And I think what ended up happening is we lost sight of some of the some of the live content that was going on. I think realistically though, once you take out 2 or 3 sort of bad people from that equation, I think every single Kick streamer there was was positive, right? I didn't hear much else. I think it is, again, this very small minority which unfortunately affected the whole entire platform's image, which I don't think is fair. I think that a lot of this wording around kick streamer does this. I kind of hate that, to be honest. I think it's really unfair. I think it's unfair to say kick streamer. I think you start using the individual's name. A platform is made up of a lot of individuals. The platform's just a platform. If it's a Twitch streamer, they use the name of the person, right? If it's a YouTube streamer, they use the name of the person. If it's any other streamer, they use the name of the person. But for some reason, a lot of these sort of media articles, they call a person a kick streamer. They don't call them by their name. They just call them a kick streamer, which I think is a little bit unfair. But again, it doesn't justify anything. And I think, like you mentioned before, it's proactive measures, right? It's proactive measures that need to be used to prevent these kind of things. So, certainly a wake-up call. I think, when it comes to any convention related to live streaming, we're going to be on the front toe and we're going to understand, hold on, there's going to be kick streamers there and we're going to be watched, and our what happens on the back of anyone live on Kick is going to reflect us as a whole platform. So I think, we learned exactly the downside of not being prepared in these situations. But again, massive wake-up call for us. And on the back end, we don't want to see that happen again, because it's not fair to the creators. It's not fair to the Kick streamers. It's not fair to the staff to be branded in this way, because it hurt. It hurt the image. It really did.
First time that's happened, though. You had a big issue with Melbourne at DreamHack prior to this. So, and that was your own sanctioned event for the most part, because you are, partnered with DreamHack. But like, knowing that and knowing that nothing was done proactively is kind of a little unsettling. And like you just mentioned, like, hey, I don't like that Kick streamers are labeled as Kick streamer does X, Y, and Z, but what are you doing to actively change that perception? You know what I mean? Like, the perception of Kick is negative in general, right? Not saying that Kick is negative. Don't take my words the wrong way. I personally have no issue with Kick. But the issue is that because of those streamers that are doing these things that are associating themselves with Kick only, they're becoming Kick streamers. It's a very negative connotation. And you should have learned transparently, you should have learned from Melbourne that you should have said something in general. Is there not a specific set of rules or guidelines or policies that you have in place that already kind of blanket this in general? And with that said, like, what consequences do you have for streamers that are violating these policies at events like TwitchCon or just in general, like beyond account suspensions? You know what I mean? Like, the big names constantly do things bad. It's like, okay, slap on the wrist. So it just helps them continue to do it, because they're like, oh, I know I'm just going to get banned for a few months and I'll get unbanned eventually. Like, what are you doing to let them know that what they did is wrong? And are you going to ban them indefinitely? Or are you going to press charges if they do something, really, really terrible? What are your plans there? You're not helping yourself as a company to just sit by and be like, oh, well, oops, sorry, we didn't learn from our last mistake. My bad. At the end of the day, you're just hurting yourself as well. So just curious as to what you plan on doing in terms of like beyond account suspensions, or, making sure that you have these guidelines that you're genuinely following. Because that's the biggest, I think, piece that people are really upset about, is the fact that you say you have these guidelines, we're doing better. You kind of blanket these statements, but there's no actual tangible evidence of things being done and stuck to consistently. So what do you plan to do in the future?
Yeah, I'd like to just, rebut that a little bit. I think again, things have changed a lot from an internal moderation perspective. If we're looking 12 months ago to now, completely different landscape. We've gone from a moderation team of 50 to over 150 people. We've got our eyes on every section. We've broken it down. Internally, moderation is changing every single day. Every day, Kick is trying to do better on that front. And to say that we didn't learn from Melbourne, I don't think is right. Again, I've got to disagree with that. We did learn from Melbourne. We did understand exactly when it comes to DreamHack especially, or any conference that we have a presence at, that we need to have eyes on that. Again, I think that came down to, I was at Melbourne, right? I think there was hundreds of Kick streamers there. There was a lot of Kick streamers. Everyone was amazing. Every single person I met was incredible. But obviously there was one person who caused a few issues. And again, we dealt with that quite swiftly. That person was banned, and I don't believe has had any issues since then. So, obviously that was an oversight in that regard. I think with TwitchCon, the biggest issue we held is we didn't realize that because it was TwitchCon, I think it went under the radar. We should have had more eyes on it. We should have been on top of it much quicker. That was the biggest mistake in that regard, right? But I think, again, now we've learned that TwitchCon, it doesn't matter whether it's Twitch, doesn't matter whether it's DreamHack, doesn't matter whether it's a KickCon one day, they're all the same. It's all live streaming content creation, right? And I think when it comes to the bans are becoming indefinite, right? I think when you talk about getting law enforcement involved, I think that's a great thing, right? Especially when it comes to IRL streaming. If someone is going ahead and harassing someone to the extent that law enforcement should be involved, I think it's a great opportunity for law enforcement to get involved. I think that, takes multiple people to get involved. And sometimes, if we're talking about something to the extreme sort of level that you're breaking the law, the people involved in it shouldn't go to Twitter or X rather and Reddit and stuff. They should, go straight to law enforcement. That is the one thing that I think should definitely help. I couldn't agree more, especially when it comes to this world of IRL streaming. As a platform though, I think the most important thing though is not to encourage that kind of stuff, right? Again, I'm a big believer that IRL streaming is incredible. I think there's so much opportunity with IRL streaming. I've always said this and I always will, right? But there is a lot of risks associated with it. A lot can go wrong. A lot of people are given the tools and the options to make many mistakes. So again, as a platform, we need to be ready for that. It's a new world out there. It certainly is changing. People are pushing the limits and we need to be ready and understanding where these high risk events are. So, when it comes to the next TwitchCon, when it comes to the next DreamHack, we are making sure that we're on top of that because again, we're heavily in the spotlight, not to mention that there's other very, very large names in the industry that are there and they attract people who end up doing even crazier things, right? That's the problem with the IRL streaming is a lot of people are chasing headlines, which is unfortunate. But from our moderation side, we're pushing and we're changing stuff consistently. That's everything that we're doing.
Yeah.
I think compared to, it's a new platform. Kick is 2 years old now, right? 2 years old. A year ago, we'd made a lot of progress. I think now compared to then, it's day and night, and it's only getting better. So we're working towards it. And I like to think that compared to even mentioning Melbourne, like it really is completely different landscape in terms of what we're trying to achieve and how we're distributing bans, how we're monitoring it most importantly, and how we're setting guidelines, and not just guidelines that are there, guidelines that are enforced. Enforcement is the most important aspect of this.
Mhm.
And to
Yeah.
give you milestones real quick,
Yeah.
give you milestones. Heel Mike is gone. Zerka is gone. Riot LOL, everything that Something About Chickens did, we took action. We revamped our guidelines to reflect more along the lines of chat roulette. We worked with you on creating an IRL policy for DreamHack and for Kick. And then the most recent milestone that was launched maybe about a month ago is our AI moderation tool, which totally flipped the entire platform. Before that, we were relying on human eye moderation as we continued to scale.
Mhm.
Kick blew up on us. In the first 3 months, we had 10 million viewers and there were 6 of us monitoring the site, right? Today, we have 49 million viewers, but we now have the AI moderation tools. We have the robust moderation team that can tackle these things, right? The last thing that I'm going to mention is that we have 24/7 reporting. So that's something that no one else has. That's a live chat that all verified and affiliate creators have at their disposal that they can report, screenshot, and share and get a moderator in their chat in real time. So I gotta say, to give you hard-nosed examples of the kind of people that we have walked away from, that we've been walking away from, and that we continue to walk away from. The site, from your quote from the Sydney Australian Times, has drastically changed, and I just want to point those out as milestones and what we're 100% doing and what we are doing. The one other thing that I want to also mention, and what Eddie was saying, is like it being one creator that broad stroke ruins it for everyone. I think that you also have to look at what this society has turned into, which is a rage bait society. When you have Deserto, when you have Drama Alert, when you have these so-called journalism, this isn't journalism anymore. Not what I grew up with, where people actually pulled people aside and asked people questions and got to the bottom of it. They're purposely saying kick stream. They're purposely saying kick on kick, Twitch on kick. They want this Twitch kick narrative, right? Because certain platforms are for sale. Certain handles on Twitter are for sale for certain headlines, right? And if we think that that doesn't happen, if the New York Times is for sale, sure as shit, Deserto is for sale, right? So we also have to look at that in digging. There's been times that we've called out Deserto where they pull the headline, all right? Because they're just engaging in rage bait, right? But the other thing I want to make very, very clear here is that there are platforms that want to continue to monopolize the market, and that's dangerous, right? When they other, when someone releases a thing saying, "Hey, we're gonna remove these streamers from our next con," that's othering. That's dangerous. And what it needs to happen is that platforms need to come together because the people who lose out are the creator, right? If you have a problem with platform on platforms, the platform should talk. But what you don't do is you don't say, we're going to blackball everyone that streams on this because guess what? You're blackballing your own creator too. If you blackball Kick streamers, you're blackballing Twitch streamers. You're black. Sorry, that's the fact. The people who lose out in this petty back and forth are the creators, right? I think platforms can go at each other. I think Adidas and Nike and Reebok can all go at each other. But the moment you say that the person that's wearing Reebok that might have the same pair of shoes of Nikes or the same pair of shoes of Adidas in their closet, and because they have a certain shoe in their closet, you're just labeling them as a black sheep, that's dangerous, right? Othering is only benefits corporations and only benefits monopolies. The only other thing that I will say, and this is my opinion, right, is that the stuff that was being asked at TwitchCon, yes, 50% of it was bad and bannable, and we banned them. However, the other 50% were very pertinent questions in the space. There was a certain CEO that was approached and said, why aren't you paying your streamers? And that at the time, that was very pertinent. That was a very pertinent question. But guess what? He asked the right question to the wrong person, right? That was a very pertinent question. The other thing, he went up to a very high profile streamer over there and said, why are you hiding sexual harassment issues, this news? Okay. He asked a very relevant question within the space and immediately got walled off by his cronies who would not allow him to ask a question. Okay, look, that's paparazzi material. Okay, that's what the paparazzi do to politicians. That's what they do to actors, things of that nature. This is a testament of where IRL streaming is going. The more that Elon Musk drapes the world in Wi-Fi, IRL streaming is not going anywhere. It is the new media, right? So I just want to put that out there that as this space evolves, we're going to continue to run into these things. But I just also want to temper that it isn't all just bad, and Kick's not doing anything. I want to really get into the nitty gritty of the nuances of the gray, and just bring that to life.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's totally true. Like IRL stream is a great addition to the streaming culture. You know, a lot of people just go to streaming and they're like, oh, I'm just going to watch this guy play a video game, doing something like go touch grass. You know, it's kind of cool to see somebody living their life and, you know, doing things in real life. And I think that's amazing. You know, and like you said, you're going to encounter new things that, you know, nobody's ever seen before, unprecedented issues because it's something brand new. And of course, with that, there's going to be growing pains, and that's totally understandable. You know, but to be on more of a proactive side, you know, do you have a legal compliance team, you know, in each region that you're in? Do you have a dedicated team of people to monitor streams in the live streaming section that kind of vet for potential legal violations? Do you have a rapid response team for, you know, the police forces in each country or area, if you will? You know, are you doing anything in terms of education for police, you know, precincts and things like that? Because, you know, doxing and all the rest of it is such a big issue when it comes to streaming in general. There's a severe lack of education around it as well. So, you know, to kind of put yourselves in a better light, you know, are you doing anything on that end to kind of proactively, you know, talk about these issues before they happen and have something in place when they ultimately do happen? Because, you know, things are going to happen. So, you know, what preparations are you taking in terms of getting that solidified?
Yeah, no, on that front, right? I think at the end of the day with live streaming, it's about being proactive, not reactive, right? If we want to set a standard, if we want to set a policy, if we want to set a guideline, we have to proactively enforce it instead of reactively enforce it. Because once it happens, then we've already copped all the downside of it, right? And at that point, a ban or any kind of enforcement is you know not going to achieve much in changing the narrative. You mentioned in terms of legal and compliance, trust, safety, these are all areas of Kick which are growing. Like I said, 2 years ago when we started a streaming platform, we're like, all right, this will be great. we'll need a few people, but we had no idea exactly the lengths of what we needed to create. And every single position that you just mentioned there, we've got that filled here in Melbourne. We've got that filled over in Serbia as well, covering 24/7 coverage all the time, right? And it is about being proactive. I think, a big aspect you mentioned there, cooperation with law enforcement. You've got no idea the amount of different law enforcement agencies constantly coming to us for all types of information requests. That's probably one of the largest, pieces of work that we have to go through every single day, working with law enforcement agencies, whether it's, based on chat messages, whether it's based on certain things that happen on streams, whether someone said an offhand comment, which has been picked up and escalated to the relevant authorities. So, of course, that is by far our one of the largest compliance aspects for any social media platform, and making sure that we do so in the correct way. So, leaning forward, I think you've got a great sort of, call out there as well. I think a response unit for, hold on, how can we actually help be proactive if something's going really bad, and how can we get people on the ground to help change that, right? Obviously we can stop the stream, but sometimes that's not enough. Actually, if the stream stops, it doesn't actually continue to stop the events from unfolding. So I think potentially being proactive with some of these contacts that we're making across the globe right now in terms of law enforcement and other agencies which help protect people out there. I think maybe it's about saying, hold on, we want to actually lean into you guys every now and again if something's going downhill. I think that's a great idea. Response team isn't something that we have in that regard, but everything else you mentioned, again, we had no idea going into this exactly all the positions we're going to need to fill. But, we're quickly learning that these areas are some of the most important areas for maintaining a long-term live streaming solution. So, that is definitely front of mind all the time.
Awesome. I love to hear that. I had another question for you guys as well. I wanted to talk a bit about aside, moving away from that. I want to talk about we were talking about why you don't pay creators on the Twitch side. Obviously, you guys don't do that. I applaud Kick for doing all they do for compensating creators for what they're deserving and all the rest of it. I love that. That's one of my biggest things that I cheer you guys on, is the fact that you actually do pay your creators. But I would love to know how you plan to sustain that. You know what I mean? That's as the platform grows and all the rest of it. From my understanding, you don't have ads on your platform, at least that I've seen. I've never seen an ad on Kick and all the rest of it. So just curious as how you plan on maintaining and sustaining the payouts that you're giving these creators.
Yeah, so the first thing I mention when I hear this, right, is I think there's a very big misconception, and I don't know where this originated from, but everyone seems to think that live streaming costs a lot of money to run. There's this conception that, oh wow, to run a live stream it costs X amount of dollars because there's a calculator online that says that. That cost is not right. Just to clarify, I've said this many times on live stream too. The cost of live streaming has gone down a lot. As technology has gotten better, the cost of transferring data and running a live stream is far less. So again, the costs aren't, they're up there, right? But they're not nearly as high as some people think they are. I think it's one of the strangest things that of the scene is this complete emphasis on the fact that live streaming is unprofitable. Obviously, again, I think that having to start taking away from people's donations, gifted subs, I like to think that they're donations, really. They're, subscriptions and gifted subs. That's a way of saying, I love you as a creator. I want to give you money. And taking a cut of people's donations, again, that's just where we draw the line. You don't take a cut of people's donations. It's like if I donated $100 to right to unmute, and then you've got some sort of platform that takes 30% of that away, that's bullshit, right? Or 50% rather, sorry. We don't agree with that at all. I think in terms of how Kick will be profitable, advertising is how it will be profitable. The same way Facebook is profitable, the same way Instagram is profitable, the same way every other social media platform is incredibly profitable will be through advertisements and effectively advertising. So we've been looking into this for a long time. We understand we can make the numbers work. We will get to advertising. At the moment, we're not focused on it because the expense of Kick isn't nearly as much as people make it out to be. I think that there is a false rumor that goes around that helps to maybe justify taking so much money, that live streaming is this incredibly expensive thing that no one can afford to do. So we have to take 50% of your money now because, it's that's how it works. And people buy into that narrative. And I'm here telling you, as somebody who knows the financials of live streaming, it is not that expensive. Nobody should ever have to take 50% of your donations to cover the cost of live streaming, unless you are running an inefficient operation. Advertising certainly can cover the cost. 100% can cover the cost. I think effective advertising will, and we will have a pathway to that. But for now, we're not focused on making money. We're focusing on making a positive platform that can compete with the other big players in the space, YouTube and Twitch, of course. And that's first and foremost. And once we achieve that, once we feel like we're in a comfortable spot, we'll move towards profitability. But for the time being, profitability isn't front of mind, but we will get there. And of course, for long-term stability, we're coming up to year 2, right? We're coming up to year 2. This is not just a 5-year project, 10-year project. This is beyond that, right? And making sure the financials are certainly adding up is going to be important for also the peace of mind for people, right? Because again, people, streaming on Kick may think, hold on, wait a second, is this place still going to be around? So we want to make sure that people know we have a solid business model that can make sure that Kick can stand on its own 2 feet. But again, I'm not worried about that at all. I'm very confident that advertising will be able to cover 100% of Kick's costs and more without ever needing to move away from our 95-5 split.
Sure.
Yeah, and just to jump in, it's the reason why we use AWS, right? The reason why we use AWS is definitely a marketing tool to say, hey guys, this can be done without dipping into your pockets, right? So that's a totally big time marketing tool for us. The other thing that Eddie wrapped up on is like the right kind of advertising, right? I cannot stand going to other platforms and having to sit through 3 to 8 minutes of commercials. And it's just wrong. So when we do advertising, we're going to put more control in the creator's hands. I think YouTube does it very well, where they have a 5-second skippable ad. That is very reasonable. They don't make as much money, but there are tools out there that we are looking at that puts more control in the creator's hands while supporting the platform through advertising. Right now, selfishly, I love the fact that our creators are the ad. I love the fact that you shouldn't be watching ads. You should be watching the creator. As soon as 8 minutes comes up that you do not have a choice in watching, that rips you away from the creator. And then the other argument that I hear for advertising, this is from the creators, is that it gives people a reason to subscribe. And I totally agree with that, right? I totally agree. Like, hey, I subscribe so I don't get the commercials, or I sit through the ads to support my favorite creator. But guess what? Under KCIP, the more that you watch them and the more that you engage with their channel, the more money they make. So instead of giving your attention to, racetrack or commercial or some random State Farm commercial, you're giving your attention to the creator, thus paying the creator better under KCIP.
Yeah, sure. I love that. Yeah, I do agree with you there. The ads are extremely frustrating on other platforms. Eddie, you mentioned, so just jogged my brain to think. You mentioned, Facebook and Instagram and all the rest of it. Are there any plans for making Kick into more of a social media platform in like a vertical sense in terms to like compete with TikTok streaming or something like that? Since TikTok is extremely censored now, since Kick is defining itself as a mature platform, the content that's normally ingested by adults on TikTok is being censored. Is that something that you have in your pipeline, just out of curiosity?
I guess, yeah, the first question in regards to sort of moving into other sort of verticals in terms of product offering, Kick will be live streaming first platform always, right? I think, that's something that's very important. I think that's what defines, a live streaming platform today. We don't want to start, moving into being sort of VOD first or any other sort of type of social media. So, Kick will always remain live streaming first. Again, though, what we hopefully add towards the platform in terms of features and in terms of ways people can engage with each other, engage with their communities, maybe we'll lean on some other concepts and aspects, but live streaming will always be at the center of Kick. I think in terms of where Kick's going to go in terms of sort of censoring certain subjects and stuff, I think obviously TikTok has gone from one extreme to another, right? They've changed a lot in these last 12 months. My guess is a lot of that's on the back of regulatory pressure. A lot of compliance pressure, I'm guessing, with what's happening in the States right now. I don't think that we'd want to go down that avenue of being that strict, right? I think, again, we went into Kick and we thought, hold on a second, we're going to really tone it down in moderation and allow people to do what they want to do. But then we quickly realized, hold on, that doesn't work as well as we initially thought. So we had to start very quickly adapting to why a lot of terms of service and guidelines were in place. Getting to the level where TikTok's at, I really hope that never has to happen. I think it's really sort of stunting people's creative freedom. I think I see people getting banned for some of the most silliest stuff, which is, again, I think it's all just mainly automatic from what I understand.
Silly. You can't say kill in a COD lobby and get banned. Silly.
They're even like suppressing COD content in general. They don't want the game on the platform. It's wild, absolutely wild. But
I think to answer that question, I can't ever promise anything, but under my watch, I would really hate to see Kick ever go down that. I think, Kick will always stand out as being a mature platform. I love this idea that, Kick is kind of like the HBO of social media. I think that's a nice little sort of place to sit, right? And I think we'll always try to sit there. So again, it's very interesting to see these other social media platforms though and how they're moderating it. We've been on the other side of the fence as a consumer of this, social media for so long. And now that we're kind of on this side of the fence, you do understand that a lot of these changes, I guess, are based around certain sort of pressure that may be coming from all types of directions, right? I don't think TikTok is actually sitting there going, we hate Call of Duty. I think there may be some pressure coming from another angle that we're probably not seeing, and they're probably doing that because they're told to elsewhere. So, if hopefully that doesn't happen to Kick, because we love our Call of Duty section. I think it's one of the most active sections we've got.
Definitely. I just have one more question for you, and I swear I won't take up too much more of your time.
Sorry, real quick, just to be cognizant of our other guests.
I know you have another one. I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. Here's the deal. Hanridge is perfectly cool to join. And Chris, I know I mentioned if it's cool, all of us are in here.
Yeah, I'm fine.
You mind if I bring her in? Because she's totally good at just on the fly. She will roll with the punches. But I would love to bring her in just to continue this conversation, right?
Sure.
Cool. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Go for it, Krista. Sorry, my bad.
No, I just had that one question. Hi, Hanridge. Just to ask one more.
Wait, can you guys see me?
No.
Not yet, no.
We can hear you now, but not see yet.
Okay. Oh my God, can you see me now?
We got you.
You're
got you.
Great.
Hi.
Hello. So sorry, just one more question real quick. So just wanted to know, if you have any specific metrics or benchmarks that you have set to improve the community behavior and the platform reputation, just on the Kick side in general. Is there anything that you've said, hey, by next year, we want to be able to measure some sort of KPI that'll prove that we've gone from, this extreme to this extreme? What are those things if you do have something in place?
Yeah, in terms of data right now, I think the biggest one for us is propensity to ban. I think that's a big one. In terms of how many people, to begin with, our propensity to ban was actually quite low, and then it started spiking, and now it started to go down a bit. I like to think that if you encourage a good community, you end up not having people getting themselves banned, because everyone is hopefully falling into line and encouraging each other to make content which is positive and not do the wrong thing, right? So we do have data around that. Especially partners and verified streamers, the propensity to ban for them is something we look at quite closely. We don't like banning partners. Obviously we have to ban them from time to time, but that usually says, hold on guys, why did this person make it this stage? Why have we allowed our communication to dip, and why are they representing the platform? I think on the back of AI moderation, we've started keeping much more data around, chats in general, specific words being used. We're able to start tracking a lot of what's happening there. I think that yields some really incredible results. You start to understand, hold on a second, which communities are the ones that are engaging in sort of more toxic sort of behavior, and you start to understand where that's sort of stemming from. And obviously you start to get an understanding of what percentage of the platform is based around this sort of more toxic sort of behavior. So again, we are starting to really sort of dig deep into data. in sort of the other business that where I work very closely in, data is everything. Everything is data driven. Every decision is backed by so much data. We love it. We're trying to kind of adopt that same mentality on the Kick, and it's so exciting because there is just so much data that you can work with. Everything is quantifiable now. As you mentioning with right to unmute, right? That's exactly what you guys are doing, and you can certainly start to really paint a much more solid picture around the direction we're heading in. I think, to be honest with you though, maybe we should start publishing some of these numbers. I think, because, for example, we just had this conversation just before where you're like, what have you guys done 12 months to now? Like, and again, it's a genuine question. I'm again, not denying it, but it'd be great if I could come to you and I was like, hold on a second. No, this data point here says this. And 12 months ago it said this, like we're heading in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I come back to you with facts, with data, right? And that completely changes the conversation. So, to be fair, it's a great idea. We should maybe start publishing some of this data we're tracking internally and say, guys, this is our goal. Like, as a platform, sure, we want to get this feature out, this feature out, this feature, but we also want to get this data point which reflects positive on the platform from here to here, or maybe we want to get another one from here to here. Again, I think that's actually a really positive sort of idea. Haven't thought about doing that, but the simple fact that you bring that up, I think that's something we might actually be able to lean into a little bit. But yeah, that's actually super interesting.
Encourage that for sure.
I'm starting to think a little bit there. I like that.
Real quick to add on to that really quick is, I know you're looking for quantitative data. I want to give qualitative data, right? Qualitative data is, in my opinion, a year ago, DreamHack wasn't even looking at us. This year, we're a headlining sponsor alongside Lego, alongside Intel, alongside Racetrack, right? I mean, people just don't willy-nilly allow sponsors alongside those massive names. That's a year ago, right? You look at someone like, Heel Mike out, BB Just in, all right? So we look at, qualitative also, the caliber of streamer that continues to come over here, right? I think Hanridge, kind of segueing into her coming in here, she does an amazing show called Kick News where she sees all of it. But you know what I really like about Hanridge? She not only shows the stuff that Deserto loves to show, but she also loves to show the human side of IRL streaming, which is the human moments. There was a Deepak celebrating a birthday, like human moments, getting to know these IRL streamers at a different level. And I think that that's something very hard for this sector to grapple with, that Kick is forcing the live streaming space to evolve. And what we're witnessing right now is, and I'm going to date myself here, we're witnessing Elvis Presley shaking his hips on stage and all of the old men shaking their fists at clouds, demanding that he get off the stage. That's what's happening here. What we're witnessing right now is The Simpsons coming out on Fox with this crazy cartoon, and all the old heads from the Jetsons and from the Flintstones being like, you can't curse on television. You can't have the father choking out a 10-year-old boy. What are we doing here? Where's society going, right? 30 years later, Simpsons is still on the air. You have Tom Green, who comes out with this crazy avant. You have Jackass, who comes out and starts kicking each other in the nuts. You have, and then it launches an entire Red Bull campaign where they can't stop doing degen stunts, jumping out from stratospheres into the. So my point is that this is that moment. You've had the market cornered for so effing long that when you start to unbottle what streaming can actually do, you have all the old heads come out and say, this ain't my streaming. Well, it ain't your streaming because it's been monopolized for so long. This ain't your streaming because knee-jerk reactions of holding back technology and holding back creators who are watched just in TV when they're 14, 15 years ago, are now 30-something with a mortgage and a 401k and having their first kids, and you still have a TOS forcing them to act like a 14-year-old. So that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing people become grown-ups. You're seeing people become like, and I'm not just talking about the stuff that Deserto picks and chooses to get paid to put headlines for. What I'm talking about is like the market is getting older. It's getting more refined, and it leans more into what Eddie just said. We are the HBO of programming. We are the HBO of live stream. So I just want to add that context that it gets overlooked. The old heads are coming out and saying, I don't like that where streaming's going. Well, guess what? A lot of people didn't like where Elvis took music, but it went. And here, one other context. So Mr. Beast, 3 months ago, clips were released of his early streams saying not so great stuff, right? What happens if you just have this knee-jerk reaction and just ban, and bury Mr. Beast so early in his career where he doesn't get to evolve and do the things that he's doing now, right? I'm not saying he's perfect. He's a human being. But what I'm saying is that live streaming is a high wire act. It's live and people grow. And you're watching that growth and maturity in real time without all the editing, without all the post-production. So I'm just going to say that. And then like, Hanridge, you want to comment on other stuff that I said, or Krista? I just want to kind of open up the conversation there.
I'm happy to just jump in real quick. So you mentioned like, hey, it's like Elvis shaking his hips on stage. It's like The Simpsons, a cartoon, making a cartoon about an adult choking child. But those are all true. I'm not saying they're not, but at the same time, this is a little different in terms of this is happening to people that aren't expecting it. These like for example, like live, IRL streaming, it's happening to people who are unaware and not necessarily signed up to deal with the things that they're being put through. So I love IRL streaming. I love it. I think it's a great idea, but we just need to make sure that you're being cautious in how you're, proactively looking at IRL streaming and anticipating, again, those legal ramifications and all the rest of it that's going to eventually happen and come with it, because it's not only the individual that is putting themselves at risk, they're also putting the public at risk as well in a lot of these situations, the headline situations, if you will. But like I said, I love live streaming. Just want to differentiate that there needs to be a little bit more done on the back end to go full send with it, if you will.
Yeah, and I just love Kick. I feel like 7 years ago I started live streaming and it felt so raw, and I always thought that they were the funniest moments I've ever experienced in my life, like as a viewer and as just being there, and also some of the darkest moments, like as a viewer and being there. And I love that Kick has been able to like monopolize all of that and just be able to create all this content and see all the craziest stuff. Like you can't see this type of stuff anywhere else. Like when I watch a Kick stream, it's like you can't compare it to anything else. It's like how I viewed Comedy Central when I was a teenager. I haven't been able to laugh like this since I was a teenager watching Comedy Central. I love Kick, Eddie. I love it.
I'll tell you what, I think on both sides there, right? I think that's the thing, right? I think IRL streaming itself, it's got so much potential. It can be incredible, it can be fun, it can be engaging, but to what was just mentioned before, when it gets to the point where it starts breaking the law, harassment, I think that there is a fine line, right? And I think we're talking about two separate things here. I think, again, this comes down to IRL streaming in general. Like 99.9% of it is acceptable, right? And then there's that 0.1% that ends up getting on the headline, that ends up getting everyone in trouble, that everyone goes, wow, this whole thing's, gone downhill, right? And I think, it's such a great segue into sort of, Hanridge here, because Hannah, you've been running the Kick News now for like over a year, right? And to what Andrew mentioned before, which is so cool, like you not only pick up all the bad headlines, of course you get all the bad headlines, you're on top of every single one of those ones, but you're also grabbing all the good stuff that's going down too, the storylines that are being built, because the reason we have these storylines and why IRL streaming is so fun and engaging is because there are really great moments there too. There's a lot of really great moments where you get to learn more about the person and go on these journeys with them, and the positive interactions as well. My question to you, Hannah, is just in cars. What made you start Kick News? Because I know it popped up a little bit over a year ago, and it's obviously gone really well. I think it's every single week now. You've been going for 2 episodes a week. What's the goal with Kick News? What's the goal with what you're trying to achieve with it?
Well, I want to be able to have a small format where we can see all the best moments and the funniest moments, and like you said, even the worst moments. And I think it's it's nice to be able to go over and see it, because sometimes people think like, oh, live streaming, oh, I can't watch a whole live stream. But when you're able to go back and go through and see, there are funny moments. And it also shows like streamers that people that might not even know about, like really small streamers, they're going to have a funny moment. And when people come to my stream and they see that, they're like, oh, I want to follow this person. So I love that it also gives smaller streamers a way to like show themselves, because there are smaller streamers on Kick that deserve to be just as big as everyone else. Like, I think it's a huge opportunity for them as well, because there's such funny moments on anyone's stream, such funny moments, and just like good wholesome moments as well.
Do you have a favorite moment that you've seen recently? I'm just curious.
Well, right now, definitely Fousey just going at it and being himself right now. That anything that has to do with him, anything. And I've seen some funny clips of Little Pump as well, which I didn't realize that he was live streaming, but oh my God, he says some crazy stuff.
When you talk about the crazy stuff, so again, just trying to understand sort of in terms of IRL streaming here, like Hannah, if you know you've seen a lot of people get themselves in trouble and go a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Would you have some sort of like examples of kind of like where would you draw the line as someone who's obviously very pro sort of, you know, letting IRL streaming kind of go the whole mile and you know, be entertaining? Where do you personally think the Kick should be drawing the line in terms of, say, moderation, and a little bit around what we kind of, you know, discussed a bit earlier in terms of like, hold on a second, that's too far. We have to get either law enforcement involved or bans and stuff. Like, again, a completely open discussion, because I know everyone's got their own views on this.
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard to say. I feel like there's so many different lines. Like, you know, your own moral compass. And then when I watch something and I'm like, oh, was that okay? Should that have been pushed? Should that have been okay? It's for my own moral compass. I don't want to ever make someone else feel upset. I don't want to ever make someone else feel uncomfortable. Like if I were to IRL stream, I don't like to get in people's faces and, you know, people who don't like to be filmed. But for other people, I think just crossing the boundary of just, I don't know, when someone is visibly uncomfortable in front of you, I don't know. I feel like that should be a boundary where they should be like, maybe I'll stop. Does that make sense? It gives me that sort of secondhand embarrassment when they're next to a stranger and the stranger clearly doesn't want to be filmed or doesn't want to be there. That sort of boundary, I don't know. I don't mess with that boundary, but I feel like there's so many different answers to that. It's so wide.
Yeah, so it's a super broad question. I apologize. But to be fair, I think you've actually honestly summed that up really well. I think at the end of the day, pretty much every negative, say, headline starts with someone being uncomfortable, a bystander in IRL streaming who ends up, you know, becoming collateral damage in the sort of overall, you know, production of this, you know, quote unquote content, right? So, you know, I think, you know, once you start entering that territory of you know, having innocent sort of bystanders entering that sort of realm of being sort of uncomfortable, again, I think that's a great place where you start saying, hold on, is this acceptable? Is this even allowed? I guess that starts bordering on harassment, right? It starts bordering on what is, you know, considered almost illegal in most countries, from what I understand. So, yeah, I think that's a great place to start. And I think, you know, if I'm just thinking recently, a lot of every sort of major issue that has stemmed from IRL streaming, I think that sort of would cover it if people had, you know, taken that cue and gone, hold on a second, this person is, you know, not feeling it. I should probably step away from this situation and remove myself from the situation. You know, not only would the I guess the stream had continued with you know, more success, but it would have definitely been beneficial to Kick as a platform too. So I think, to be fair, it's a great way to put it.
So there's also people out there, like random strangers, that would be down to be on camera and like would be funny on camera, but it's just when they go a little too far with the one person that's in the store saying, please don't film me, and they, you know, keep going up to that person. It's like there's hundreds of people out there you can go up to, and I'm sure they'd be fine being filmed. It's just that sort of the one person that's like, oh no, don't put me on the camera, and then you keep trying, and it's like, oh no, please don't.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be a way of like asking for consent, basically. You know, I live in New York City, and every single time I'm walking down the street, hey, can we ask you a question? I'm like, no. And they're like, okay, see you later. I'm like, okay, bye. You know, that's literally all it takes. It's like 3 seconds. hey, do I have your permission? No, okay, bye. It's very simple, and should definitely be adapted.
Exactly. Feel the vibe. If they don't want to be on camera, walk away, find someone else.
Exactly.
What's interesting, and I have this conversation a lot, is I think that there's illegal and there's inappropriate. And this is
Mm,
my opinion, right? Is like once it starts crossing over illegal, like definite issue. But if it's inappropriate, it's like at what point can we just look at the other person and just say, change the channel? You don't like it? Change the channel. It's inappropriate to you because I think that that's where the gray area is. It's like that's inappropriate. Well, what's inappropriate to you might be inappropriate to someone else, but illegal is a clear line. Illegal is like we have agreed as a society. There's a law out there. This is not what you do, right? Now, to piggyback on that is again, I brought up our friend Elon Musk, but listen, Starlink can give you a signal anywhere, right? And I have had discussions with people that I think whoever starts tapping into helping out municipals put together an IRL policy or towns or cities or governments to start putting, because I think eventually IRL streaming is going to be such a thing that it's going to look like San Diego TwitchCon. If you go out on the streets after TwitchCon in San Diego, every table has a camera on. Everyone on the sidewalk is walking around with a camera, right? If internet becomes as accessible as Elon Musk wants it to be, IRL streaming is going to be everywhere, guys, in the next 5, 6, 7 years. And I think it's going to start being up to the local districts to come up with their own IRL policy so that we can all get on the same page of what is illegal and what is inappropriate. And to the people who think that things are inappropriate, I just say change the channel
true.
or use your 24/7 report button and report it.
That's a big statement there, Andrew. I was gonna my next thing to Hannah was gonna be like, where do you kind of, because you've been watching IRL streaming for like the last, like you've been a part of it for 7-8 years or so, right? I was gonna say, what do you think the future is? Do you think it's as far as what Andrew's mentioning, where the whole world is gonna be like San Diego TwitchCon and we're all just live streaming our lives, or is it on the up and up? Like, what do you think? What is the
Well,
future of IRL streaming?
a part of me hopes that it's going to be like that. It sounds a little scary, but a part of me hopes, because I love being on camera. I love everyone being on camera. I think everyone in the world is a character at their own regard. I think anyone being on camera would be hilarious. Like if you had your grandma on camera, your weird uncle, like imagine that would be hilarious, but they would never be on camera. But that would be scary. That would be scary. But I wish that the future would be like that. That would help me a lot in my career. I would love that.
Yeah, I guess the Kick News would be pretty busy then. It would be, be almost end up having a prime spot on main TV. Hannah, I've got one last question for you, and I'll hand over to you guys. Maybe just keep the conversation running freely. But for anyone who is looking to get into IRL streaming, you mentioned supporting smaller creators, which is huge. It's something we're always about, right? Like, what are you looking for when you're looking for clips, for highlights, for people to feature? How do you think? What's some advice you can give someone on how to create incredible content that subsequently will drive them viewership and drive themselves into segments on your show, for example?
My advice to any small streamer would be yourself. Don't try to be any other streamer. Be yourself and be confident in yourself. And to be comfortable, that's the killer of creativity. So go out of your comfort zone.
Love that. Comfort is the killer of creativity. Yeah. No, I guess at that point you end up pushing the boundaries in terms of what you think you're able to achieve. I guess at that point you're not going to end up in that sort of repetition sometimes. I guess it's very easy to fall into repetition, especially with content creation. I know me, I've been streaming for a while and I love to follow the same, the same segment every single time. I love consistency, but I guess when you put yourself out there and end up sort of mixing it up a bit, that's when you end up surprising yourself in terms of what you can, what kind of content you can end up getting involved in, especially when it comes to IRL, I'm sure.
Yes. I've always said, I was just saying to like Nick White recently, I was like, don't you ever feel like when you are having an anxiety attack or you're really uncomfortable or you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, those are the moments that are clipped. Not when you're like, oh, this was a good stream. And then you end the stream and you don't really hear anything. You don't see anything on Twitter and you're like, oh, whatever. But it's those moments where you're like, oh, I don't feel comfortable right now. Oh my God, what's going on? Like, da, 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 oh my God, this is crazy. There's so much going on. And then when you end your stream, you look at your phone, it's like this clip and this clip and this clip, and you get all these messages. And that's what is crazy to me. It's like when you step out of being comfortable, that's when the magic happens. That sucks, but it's also, I guess that's just life. C'est la vie.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Even obviously even having this segment here on Kick Talk, right? Having Krista here asking us some really hard questions, right? I think it puts us out of our comfort zone a little bit, but hopefully, these are the kind of questions and type of content that ends up pushing, even, as a small little streamer here that we run on Kick Talk, it ends up sort of creating new content. As scary as that sort of thought process sounds in the way you describe it, I guess that is how you end up sort of pushing yourself to new levels, right? I don't think any big streamer, the massive names that you hear about all the time, have got there without going, hold on, is this what I'm comfortable doing? I think they've all had to completely redefine and sort of almost create the live streaming world that they've ended up becoming part of. Like, they've had to push the boundaries and be the first to make some of these massive changes to the landscape, and that's uncomfortable. That's scary. So yeah, I love that advice. That's awesome.
Uncomfortable leaps, a lot of uncomfortable leaps. Like any big streamer has been scared a lot in their life, 100%.
So I want to put something out there real quick that happened this weekend over at DreamHack. So, and this is another qualitative metric that I'll put out there. Eddie, like this past weekend, we were invited to an esports creative summit with Ghost Gaming, and we were on the same stage as YouTube, Beacons, and Twitch. And I got to have a discussion with our counterpart over at Twitch. Specifically, his name is Anish Gadwani, Anish Gadwani, and he's a director of partnerships, I believe, over at Twitch. But I looked over at him and I said, hey, look, like, there's definitely a safety component or a communication component that I think that the two platforms need to have. I think that there needs to be some sort of bat phone on both of our desks when something for the live streaming space is going down that's not good. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but what I'm saying is that I opened up the conversation to them and saying, hey, are you at least able to get in a room with us, kind of like what we're doing with TikTok, and talk about where the hell all of this is going from a collective group. Now, I didn't make any promises or anything like that, Eddie. It was just simply testing the waters. It was simply like, hey, I think that there's a greater good here. Yes, we are competitors. Yes, I think we have the better platform. Yes, do I think we're going to take over live streaming? But I think as far as a safety component goes there, like I'll give you an example. The Riot LOL stuff, right? I think I love the stuff that Something About Chickens does, but I think he misses a massive point, which is a lot of these creators that do that kind of content use multiple platforms as a tool, meaning that they use Twitch, they use YouTube, and they use Kick to find people, and then they carry it over to Discord. Also, you have Ome TV that is the medium that they use. I think that there needs to be more conversation between platforms like Twitch, Ome, and Discord, so that the people who are doing this kind of behavior, we're all on a front of it. Because what happens is that Kick can pull its weight, but we cannot police what happens on Discord. We cannot police what happens on Ome, right? It's wrong. And the same thing with Discord. Like, Discord shouldn't be policing Kick, right? But I think that we should all say, like, hey, man, we got this dude, Riot LOL, that's doing some shady shit. We think that they're going over to Discord and carrying on the party. Can you look into it? But what happens is we reach out to Discord and it's crickets. It's absolute crickets. So I think I'm just throwing that out there as more of an overarching thing for, to help what Krista's kind of aiming for, but at the same time allowing live streaming to continue to evolve in what Hanridge kind of covers.
Yeah, I think it's exactly kind of what Krista you're mentioning in terms of being kind of proactive and working with whether that's sort of legal compliance, these different departments in terms of how we can keep the place safer, right? Because, Andrew, like you mentioned, I think a lot of what happens, it's not just on one platform, right? It's people taking, advantage of social media as a whole, and it's all kind of ends up leaning into one subject. And I think people can cooperate, right? There shouldn't be these like big walls between platforms, like, no, we're not going to communicate. So I think, yeah, some of those serious situations, right? I think, again, there's so many differing degrees of severity when it comes to, infraction, issues on with live streaming. And some of those very serious ones, I think, having that communication, having that open line between whether it's Discord, whether it's Twitch, whether it's YouTube, to say, hey guys, we should get on top of this would be great. Because, I think a big problem right now is people can just jump from platform to platform to platform to platform, and they think they've got sort of like 7 lives, right? But if we kind of said, hold on a second, like, nah, this is where we draw the line, and people realize that could be really helpful too. So, again, I think that communication and working together on that front would be great. But like you mentioned, it is hard. Like, I think we've tried reaching out a lot to these other players in the game, especially when we had a lot of these issues with Omi and with Discord as well. And again, like you mentioned, it was crickets, right? It was really difficult to get buy-in from them. So, we'll keep pushing on that front. And I'm sure these guys have huge teams at their disposal that monitor a lot of this. So, it's super interesting subject. And I think if we just, start working towards breaking down those barriers, like, at the same time, everyone wants the same outcome. No one wants to encourage those kind of situations. I think everyone's on the same page when it comes to those sort of problems with quote unquote content. So yeah, that's great that we've got that conversation started with Twitch at least. Hopefully it comes to something.
It's actually genuinely why I enjoy like chatting with you guys, is because you're open to these types of conversations. Like, I'm not trying to like stroke your ego or like say anything, but like just saying it as it is. Like, no, you just mentioned it yourself. Like, no other company is open to having a conversation, or it's very difficult to have a conversation. Meanwhile, you're sitting here openly asking for criticism to be like, how can we do better? That's a very distinct thing that people, I hope, will come to realize, that maybe we should be taking these steps. Let's partner with each other, because, we're not trying to censor the internet. But there's no way you're going to censor the internet. But if you could alleviate it of the people who are actively breaking the law, and, very severe laws, if you will, it would just be that much better if everybody had an opportunity to speak to one another, and then work together to rid the internet and the world of an issue. But yeah, definitely, I love that idea.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully we can bring some of these guys on TikTok or whatever it is. That could be. Imagine if we had, Andrew, like you mentioned, that person from Twitch on here, and we, said, hey, look, guys, we got this issue and that issue. How do we tackle it together? Because, at the end of the day, I think it comes back to what was mentioned before. People look at like Kick, they look at Twitch, they look at YouTube, and they think we're all at war. But I like to think we all just want the best for live streaming, right? I think we all just want the best for content creation. I think that's the thing as well, for especially as you guys, for content creators, that's what people want. Like, content creators are actively getting between platforms and creating this like rivalry. At the end of the day, you don't want a rivalry. You don't want one to die or one to fall apart, right? You want them all to succeed, because you want to have options, right? You want to have the ability to pick and choose and make sure that, everyone's offering you the most competitive experience as a live streamer, as a content creator. And in order for that to happen, you need to support, all the platforms. So I think it's in everyone's best interest, not just the platforms, but the creators themselves, that we kind of work together on those fronts and have healthy conversations and ultimately action it, because yeah, of course we can sit here and talk, but again, this is a big part about Kick Talk as well. We're trying to have these conversations and then come back with data and come back with like actual action points. It's like a big part of our initiative around this. I'm hoping off the back of this discussion that we've had, Krista, we'll definitely come back, and I think the data one you mentioned is going to be really interesting. I'm hoping we're going to be able to quote this, have a little clip and you mentioning the data stuff, and we'll put forward a few data points that we want to work on and say, hold on, look at us, we're doing it. I'm pretty sure that'll end up happening, but yeah, no, I think it's what Kick is built on. It's what I think, we're new to this industry. We're having to figure it all out, and the only way we figure this out is by having these conversations, by asking people to give us feedback and continue to, work towards what that future looks like. But at the same time, trying to find that balance as well. I think it's always really important as well to make sure that we take on a lot of feedback and we work towards what we see as the future of live streaming too, because, at the same time, I think a lot of people would want to see Kick completely removed. Like, for example, IRL streaming. It's a great example. IRL streaming in some people's eyes is just bad. We should get rid of it, right? And again, I think we need to figure out how we kind of, always figure out the balance between how we can allow people like Hannah to have, Kick news and showcase all these incredible creators and all these small and upcoming guys that are doing crazy stuff like Andrew mentioned, but at the same time, finding out how we draw those lines and draw those sort of barriers before we let things get out of hand. So yeah. Now
Hey, real quick, I'm gonna let Amaze shout out. He's going up on the main stage today. Foreman, Amaze is an amazing creator, amazing musician, and he's gonna be performing with Dub Music. Say what's up.
Hey, Amaze.
What's going on, everybody? Kick at his
My
finest
God.
bubbles. We're gonna hype it up. Kick us all around the house tonight. This afternoon.
Main stage
We've
king.
been here. All green, baby. All green.
Oh, great.
I'm gonna get
Pop
hyped up.
off.
Right now I'm home, so I'm in my lurk mode.
Hey, real
Ooh.
quick. What's up, Injured Bear? Real quick, Eddie, going to what you said, man. If you are open to me bringing someone on from Twitch onto TikTok, man, listen, once that gets out, because being a dude coming over from Amazon, man, they will turn inside out. They will not know what to do with it. That's amazing. Alarm bells will go off throughout San Francisco, and if we make that happen, man, like that would be massive. And I'm gonna put it out there.
We can make it happen as early as next week or whenever it is. I'd love to do that. I think, again, it's super cool that people are even entertaining that idea. I think it's I'd love the opportunity. I know you'd love it too. I think Kick as well would. I think we got, again, we're trying to get everyone sort of working together as a team instead of like platform versus platform. I think that's something we probably lent into a little bit too much when we first launched, but now we quickly realized it's not about Kick or Twitch. It's about live streaming in general and all the content creators out there. I think that's what we want to try to create. So if we can find a way to bridge that gap and work closely together and just start having a conversation, let's make it happen.
Characters. We're all characters. We all need to be in the same show. It doesn't matter. It's like Disney and Nickelodeon. Like there needs to be some sort of a collab.
Yeah, but
For real, though.
you Hannah, on your when you're reviewing like Kick news, like do you have a bit of Twitch streaming in there too, or like YouTube and stuff? I assume it's everything, right?
I streamed a lot with my ex, a lot on all different platforms. We streamed on like YouTube, a site called D Live. I think we probably even streamed on like You Now, I think it was called, and then something else, and then went back to YouTube. And then when I streamed on Twitch, he wasn't allowed to show his face on Twitch. So when I did stream on Twitch, it was like my whole entire streaming life and my streaming persona had to change completely because my partner, that was like my like scene partner for every single thing I did, was suddenly I had to pretend he didn't exist. So streaming on Twitch, it was so uncomfortable for me only because of that. I thought the communities in Twitch were really cool. I thought, a lot of people on Twitch were really cool. It has nothing to do with them. It had more to do with like my own personal. I felt like I was in a box. I couldn't say certain things, and I couldn't have my like number one partner with me. I couldn't even have a picture of him in the back. So, when I came to Kick, being able to just say what I want, be like, oh, I can say that cuss word. Oh, I can say that. Oh, I can be disgusting and not feel like, oh my God, am I gonna get banned? Like I love Kick for that. I was like, oh my God, I can just be free on camera. Like that's what I mean. I truly, truly believe it's like the new era Comedy Central. Like it means so much to me. Like I could glaze Kick all day. Kick has even changed my entire perspective on life even. Like if I had any idea I'd be able to do this with my life when I was a teenager, I'd be like, oh, I'm set. I get to do exactly what I want to for the rest of my life. I'm set.
Oh, that's awesome to hear that. You mentioned a good point though. Quickly, is that like the whole thing about being banned from Twitch? Because I know, for example, a lot of people that are banned, it'd be tough, right? You're kind of really blackballed. Like you're almost like you can't even interact with friends. Like it's a really big thing, right? I know a lot of people that struggle with that, that have basically lost their whole friend groups. And sometimes it's over, it's over a ban, which is, again, sometimes difficult to understand exactly whether it's warranted, and it has a massive effect on people. It's like it transcends just their live stream. It sort of extends into what you're able to do. It's the fact that you've experienced that firsthand. It's unique, and again, it's a problem we're facing right now in Kick. Like we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we deal with people who've been permanently banned appearing on other people's live streams, because it's an ongoing issue. It's complicated because. Where do you draw the line? Do you say like you can't even have a photo of them? Can you watch VODs of them? Can they come on the stream and be like sort of a secondary character of sorts? Like, can they be out of frame? Like, it's difficult. I think YouTube does a good job with that a little bit in terms of how they allow people who are banned to be a part of the video to an extent. But they kind of draw that line. But it's interesting subject that we're currently sort of figuring out how to best approach at the moment, and it's coming up more and more and more. But again, all the positive stuff about Kick that warms my heart to hear as well. It's awesome to hear.
I could blaze Kick all day. I love it so much. And even I would notice it would cause kind of divides when Sam and I, that's my ex and who got banned on Twitch, obviously. But even when we would meet Twitch streamers, they'd be streaming, he'd be like, oh, I'm banned. And then automatically they didn't want to hang out with us anymore. Like I can't even count how many times that would happen to us. So it's like, it's like, our social life on camera, it's affecting, but then it also is affecting our real life where we walk into a room and then suddenly it's like, oh, no, don't interact with them. Do you know what I mean? So even like, it was weird just even in real life. So it affected our day-to-day as well, which was sad.
But the flip side, listen, look, that's, yes, banning, people not being on, whatever. But at the same time, man, there is street cred that comes with banning, right? There are people that will take their 1 or 2 week ban and gas themselves up. And for some reason, I mean, look, Amaranth made a career of it. When she started breaking out the category pools, forget about it. When she started breaking out, when her and Indie Fox started breaking out the category pools and they got banned every time, that brought more and more street cred, right? And then it created an entire category because Twitch started looking at the retention metrics of pools and saying, wait a minute, people are watching this 40 minutes at any given time. Well, we're going to make a whole category, right? And then the rest of this, right? So, like, my question here is like, how do you ban effectively without it becoming like this cool scarlet letter, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
I know exactly what you mean.
I think it's
we don't have to figure it out here. I think one thing that we're toying with is banning from the category. So like, let's say an Ome creator, does something wrong or whatever. You don't ban them from the site, you ban them from the category. Does that make sense?
I mean, and also at the same time, you can create a tiered system where like, you have, again, it goes back into enforcing your own guidelines. If you're specifically talking about Kick, somebody gets banned for 2 weeks because it's like a slap on the wrist. Hey, you fucked up. Take a second, reassess your life a minute, come back stronger, don't do it again. They do it again, then it's perma banned. And then if they're doing something that's so egregious, they're not going to be welcome on other platforms anyway. Sure, maybe for a minute, but ultimately they're just going to get banned there as well. So, but if they're getting banned on Kick, being the HBO of streaming or being the, the mature platform, if they're not welcome there, they're not going to last on any other platform, if you know what I mean. And then at the same time, you could also, I don't want to say like cut into their pocket, but you can also have tiered systems of monetization. So you have your KCIP, which is great, but you could have 2 tiers of that. You can have like your elite people who are like the representatives of the platform and do it, a really good job and, kind of bolstering the platform. And then if you have people that are like offenders or consistent offenders, knock them down to 50-50, something like that, that's going to, I think, wake them up a little more than a slap on the wrist.
Yeah. It's actually awesome that
for like extreme examples. I'm not saying do this to everybody, guys. Don't come at me.
No, it's
No, I get it.
a really good point that you brought up there. And that's in regards to, so KCIP, about 3 weeks ago, we really overhauled how KCIP works and the formulas that we use to pay people out. Beforehand, it was something we maybe rushed to get out the door a little bit just to get it up and running. But we released kind of what we call sort of the V2 of it, which is now a lot smarter, to say the least. And one core component of it is there is an element to it which affects the overall rate, and people who continue to generate really great positive content start increasing this rate. And on the inverse, when people get banned or people receive any sort of infraction, it temporarily lowers that rate too. So we're starting to take into account that. Again, we don't have any documented guidelines around that. And it's a big part about KCIP. KCIP is meant to just reward people who continue to do the right thing and continue to use the platform in the right way. But yeah, it's exactly what the KCIP's main variable that we kind of have an influence on now is in terms of the output and the type of content and the type of person that people are on stream and what they're doing to represent the platform. And if that's enticing for us, we increase their pay. But on the inverse, when they get banned, it actually decreases their rate for a temporary amount of time, or sometimes even potentially permanently. It's still getting built out a little bit. We've got some basic some basic sort of logic around it at the moment, and people are already starting to comment on it. And again, I think it's really great for reinforcing, like, hold on a second, you may get a 1 week timeout, but hold on, this is now going to have like a 6-month effect on your bottom line. So, before you go and do something crazy because you're trying to, chase a headline or chase a clip or chase clout or whatever that may be, you go, hold on, this is going to actually impact my bottom line. And again, I think, it just helps to reinforce these other areas about how we as a platform can help encourage good behavior and discourage bad behavior, right? Because, we do have KCIP at our disposal. But most importantly, I think the best thing about that is we're able to reward people to do the right thing. I think that's more important than, lowering the people to do the wrong thing, is rewarding the people to do the right thing, because helping to cultivate the kind of community that we want to have, positive streaming and positive moments, which are covered, for example, that Hannah, you're bringing up all the time. Bringing those moments to life is what we want to do. And if people are going, hold on a second, I'm seeing this rate go up and up and up now. Why is that happening? And they kind of, correlate it to the fact that they've been, just producing really wholesome content, I think is going to, help to solidify that. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's about putting those right motivating factors in place. But yeah, that started about 3 weeks ago when we did our overhaul of, the whole KCIP. So it's, I'm hoping it starts to have a good effect and people start to notice that. And it's, certainly just a really great point that you brought up. And I think people are going to continue to hopefully see the effect of what bans end up having on them as well. Cool. Hannah, did you have any questions for us at Kick It All? Or I know I asked you a bunch of questions, but.
Yeah, okay, I have a few technical questions.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so this is a clipping question. Like, a lot of people clip parts of streams for me, and they like to look back and look through their clips and, laugh at them and whatever, show their friends and send them. But it kind of gets lost in the sauce of whatever streamer that was. People are asking me if there would ever be a way for in their profile, their personal profile, for there to be some sort of tab that shows them the clips that they've clipped from different streamers. Where it's like, Action Man, Ice Poseidon, Fousey, and they can go back and look at all their favorite clips like on their profile. And I like that idea because I clip sometimes too. And then it just gets lost. And I'm like, oh, that was such a good clip.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I think, to be fair, I think D Live has that, right? I'm pretty sure they have that.
Oh, do they? I haven't been on there in a while.
I'm pretty sure, because I was on D Live for a while before we had Kick. But yeah, that makes a ton of sense. To be fair, I don't think we've got that in the works by any means, but it'd be pretty simple. I think under your profile, you just have like your clips and then, clips that you've created, right? I think it also helps to keep people somewhat accountable for the clips they put up too, because I think a lot of time people just like create thousands of clips and don't really care. But I guess having that level of accountability, if it sits in your profile, the same way that the streamer has the clip sitting on their profile, the person who clipped it has it on their profile too. So it can help sort of, people understand, hold on, this person here only clips like really strange moments or whatever. Maybe we take this with a grain of salt. Yeah. Or they're like, hold on, this person actually has a lot of really great clips which seem to be, capturing the full context. So yeah, I think that holds a lot of weight. From a technical perspective, I can't imagine that being overly complicated because we already store, like, who creates a clip. It's just about querying rather than saying, how many clips are on this channel. It goes, how many clips have been clipped by this person. So it's, one and the same sort of, query from a technical perspective. So yeah, that's a great idea. I think we could pull that off. I can't say it wouldn't be anytime like super soon, but I think we can.
Oh, I know. I love that.
A clip wallet would be amazing.
Oh, Clip Wallet. Oh, yeah, that's a good name. Because especially when I'm with my dad too, and he's like with his friends saying like, "Oh, can you explain to them?" Like, and if I just pull up my favorite clips, like, "Oh yeah, right here. Like, look at Action Man screaming here. Like, this is a good one." Oh my God, that would be amazing. Oh, I have other ones as well.
What are you thinking?
Okay. Is there ever gonna be a way that you can go back just a few seconds when you're watching a stream instead of waiting for the VOD?
We were so close to having that one out, like YouTube, right? Like YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We were so close to having that one out. I think the problem is we could. The way that we're storing the data is you could only go back 15 seconds. 15 seconds was like the minimum amount you could go back, which made it a kind of strange experience. But it's possible. It's possible. It certainly is possible. And I think we almost were, when we launched real-time VODs, we had the choice to go with like that kind of YouTube-like sort of method. But at the same time, the only thing we have against that, right? The reason why we chose against that is because what ends up happening is people very quickly end up going back, say 15 seconds, and they end up in the VOD. And once you're in the VOD, you can't interact with the chat, right? Once you end up, say, even if you're 20 seconds behind, or even if you're 3 seconds behind, you're no longer real time. And therefore, if you're no longer real time, you can't actually engage with the chat. You're technically on a VOD, right? So therefore, like the only downside is I'm pretty sure this is why, my guess is this is why Twitch does it this way, is because Twitch wants people to be in the live stream opposed to in the VOD. So, I think there is some sort of like back and forth around how that is done from a technical perspective. I guess it depends on how you want to incentivize people to use the platform. But yeah, it is certainly possible. I think it can be pulled off. But again, it does come with some downside. I'd envision that, you'd end up having 10, 20, 30% of your audience like actually watching like a VOD at that point, not engaging with the chat. So that's what we're trying to, remove, is that aspect almost. So yeah, it can be done, but we made a conscious decision to go with just, you've got real-time VODs. You can enter that VOD, watch it at that point. But, the rewind feature on YouTube, again, is pretty amazing. So maybe we need to revisit that. Maybe that's like a poll or something that we should do to kind of like get people's opinion on what they'd prefer to see, because both are technically possible. Very, very, not overly complicated to change.
Do you know how I do it? Like, this isn't very legit, but if I need to see something that happened like 5-10 seconds ago, I just go to clip it, and then you're able to see what just happened. So I don't know if people don't know that, and then you just get back to the video. So that does happen. Yeah. I'm able to do that.
Well, to be fair, I guess that's not the most elegant sort of user experience.
No, it's not elegant.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's just all these like clips just because you want to see like, yeah. So to be fair though, it's a good little hack though. If it works, right? It gets the job done. But if people are using the website in that way, it kind of, you'd almost call that a flawed user experience. You don't want people to kind of be cutting the corners.
Yeah,
to go down that avenue.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we need to look back and figure out this rewind button, because I know, again, it's possible. But yeah, maybe it's not that big a deal just having a few people a few seconds behind from time to time. Maybe we make it that every minute or so
for
forces to catch up.
Like, if I were to accidentally show my passport or something, I wouldn't want them to be able to rewind and look at that.
They can rewind, right? They can just go straight to the VOD, right? The current VOD. I think you can just go like straight. Yeah. It's just like 1 click, 2 click, and then you kind of like go back 10 seconds, right? So it's not as convenient, but yeah.
Oh my God, so sketchy. I have other questions for you, sir. Let's see. Will there ever be a verify by phone number step for accounts? So so there's not maybe like a sketchy bot or something like that, or just a sketchy human?
Yeah.
In the chat.
Yeah, no, that's one of the main sort of chat security updates that we want to start working on. I think the moment you add that, at the end of the day, you can never really stop bots, right? You can never stop people completely from engaging in creating multiple accounts, but you can add more friction. You can make it harder, right? I think right now to make a kid count, it's unfortunately quite easy. So, even my chat, I think when we started this stream was getting botted, which wasn't a great experience. It sucks, right? And I think, the best solution to that is to add these layers of friction, and mobile number certainly makes it more, more difficult. And I think obviously ends up also attracting people who are usually going to be more positive in terms of what they contribute to the chat. So yeah, we're gonna aim to get that across the line. It's already roadmapped. It's something we've had sitting around for a while, but again, it's not something I don't have a timeline for it, unfortunately. But certainly recognize the requirement for that.
And do you think that that you'll ever be able to kind of intertwine stake and kick? So when viewers want to donate to streamers, they can donate with some sort of crypto or stake currency?
We could do that, right? But again, we've always had this, like, from the moment we launched Kick, right? From the moment we launched Kick, everyone was like, hey, look, this is like, stake is bad, gambling is bad, all this kind of stuff, right? And we get it. So the whole offset has been like, how do we create as much distance between the two companies as possible? Obviously, there's shared holders, like there's, people involved in stake that are involved in Kick, and we've accepted that, and we've explained that. But I think, always trying to keep that layer of separation. That's why, for example, we never accepted crypto. Of course, like crypto is something we could accept very, very, very easily. We do it on stake. We could reuse that same technology. But we're like, you know what? Why do that? Because then people are going to start drawing more lines towards stake and Kick. And we want to keep them separate companies. They're completely separate companies with different goals. So, again, as easy as that would potentially be, because it's already there, again, I don't think it's worth the potential backfire. We don't want to have people coming up with their own assumptions. I think we've done a really great job, honestly, at removing that narrative. Like the narrative around Kick when it first launched was like, it's all just, stake, but people don't talk about that anymore. It goes to show that, Kick can transform, right? Its image around Kick can transform over time. Like what Kick was perceived as in the first year is now completely different, right? And I think it is slowly outgrowing some of those perceptions, especially around the whole gambling and stake connection. Everyone's like, to begin with, this is just 100% a stake ad, but we lived to our words. We didn't start running stake ads. We didn't start, incentivizing people to use stake. We didn't start pushing people towards, the gambling side of stuff at all. We kept it completely neutral. And again, I think people started to realize, hold on, these guys are sticking to their words. So I think that would take a step in the wrong direction and resurface some of those sort of discussions. So I think would stay away from that. But I think, Craig, to answer your question in regards to like finding more ways to easily let people receive, whether it's gifted subs or donations or kicks or whatever we bring out, like that there is front of mind, like finding more ways, like especially in certain countries where, right now we've got credit cards through Stripe, which is great for North America. It's great for European countries, but we lack PayPal, right? We lack Pix in Brazil. We lack UPI in India. We lack lots of different localized payment methods. So, ensuring that all creators have as many different opportunities to receive funding as possible is super, super important. Like coverage across all different payment methods is going to be great. So we're working towards that, but probably not on the stake or crypto side for the time being as well.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I totally get that. Because at first I was like, yeah, why wouldn't he? But that makes so much sense. And do you think that there will ever be a KickCon? Ever?
I think almost a dream hack right now. It kind of feels like it's a little bit of a KickCon going on right now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think
total KickCon.
Yeah.
Total KickCon. Krista, when you were here and when you were here for the Dallas, I would say about 35% more action on the Kick side.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Here's the other thing. We have helped since we've come on board. DreamHack has set records at Melbourne, has set records at Dallas, and is about to set a record here in Atlanta. They had their busiest Friday ever in Atlanta yesterday.
That's awesome.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah. But I think we're going to have our own thing eventually. I think, to be fair, though, we're going to have to organize it in credit. Like the amount of organization that goes into these events, I think is, it's another level, right? And it's something that we're going to have to be so across, just from a safety perspective as well. Obviously some of the stuff that we were discussing earlier on in this chat, right? Like we being ready and being operationally ready to take on a requirement such as putting together a KickCon, it's much bigger than we first, anyone would first anticipate. And I think getting it done right and making sure that Kick is held to the right, is seen in the right light is going to be incredibly important. So, when the time comes, I think we're going to have to make sure that we, certainly prepare, make sure it's not only an incredibly engaging event, but it's safe and it's well planned out. So yeah, it's going to happen for sure. I think there's demand. That's all we know. There's enough demand that people would make it happen, and there's a lot of people who would show up. And I think from what I understand and everything I've heard and what I saw at least in Melbourne at the DreamHack event where there was a lot of Kick creators, there's so many cool people from Kick, and I think it'd be actually a really great time.
There are a lot of cool people. Do you feel like a lot of pressure, Eddie?
Pressure
Like
for
working at Kick or owning Kick and all of it, like having so many people under you. Do you feel a lot of pressure?
Pressure. I must say that's the thing, right? I used to think so. So just for me personally, like when getting into business and starting to take on like staff members, right? When people like sort of start dedicating their working life to your cause, that's a big responsibility, right? And that was scary at first, especially as Steak, for example, hired its first 10 people, its first 50 people, its first 100. Now Steak has over 1,000 full-time staff, right? So that's a hell of a lot of responsibility. Kick also has over 200 full-time staff, so that's a lot of responsibility. But I tell you what I certainly feel the pressure from is in regards to all the people that have dedicated time towards Kick, that have dedicated time towards building a community here, that have dedicated their time and their careers towards giving their everything to building out their community here on Kick and making sure that I don't let them down. That there is the most pressure that I feel, right? I think at this point in time, like we have made a vow to look out for these creators. Like we come on here every week and talk about all the great things that we're going to do and tell people how we're going to, go on to win this live streaming industry. And I take that really seriously, I really do. So, again, it's not, people talk about, oh, Kick going to be the next Mixer. No, I personally couldn't let that happen. I'd feel too guilty to let that happen, right? That's certainly something that we've said that we're going to go ahead and pull off, right? So yeah, I might tell you that there is a lot of pressure, but at the same time, I'm not overwhelmed by it by any means. I know that we can pull it off. I think it's a sense of responsibility, not so much pressure. I think it's responsibility.
Yes.
And I think, to be fair, it's warranted because at the end of the day, people are dedicating their careers. People who are full-time content creators are dedicating hours, hundreds of thousands of hours a month towards streaming on Kick. And, that there is such an honor that people would feel safe to put that effort into dedicating their time towards Kick. And I think, naturally need to understand that responsibility now lies on not just my shoulder, but on Andrew's shoulders, on all of our shoulders, everyone who works at Kick. I think we all feel that shared responsibility to make this work out. So, good question, I guess, but it's nothing overwhelming though. I think we can handle it. That's for sure, to put it lightly. I think we're
when I came over to Kick, I'll say this, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I mean, okay, look, there's live streaming platforms, right? But here's the distinction from professional level. Twitch has 5 big brothers: Amazon Music, Prime Video, Audible. Like Twitch is like 6 in the pecking order. Anything that happens on any of those platforms above, Twitch gets hammered, right? Like all of a sudden, if you're playing Garth Brooks music on Twitch, Amazon Music's going to phone and call you and say, "What the hell's going on? What are you doing? You're ruining all of our deals here with Capitol Records," right? If all of a sudden Ice Poseidon gets too big on Prime Video, like let's say Hunger Games gets really massive on Twitch, right? And it becomes a odd competitor against Prime Video. You don't think that executives from Prime Video are picking up the phone, calling, saying, "Hey, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. You deal with live streaming. Let us worry about creating content," right? If you don't think that, like we have Hawk Tua coming over, right? Haley Welch, right? If you don't think that Haley Welch, blowing up a podcast isn't going to ring bells at Audible, you're crazy. You're crazy. Same thing with Google overlording YouTube gaming. Same thing with all of the other big live streaming companies that have big brothers over them. What I love about Kick and why I say it's a once in a lifetime opportunity is that we focus on live streaming. And Eddie is 100% focused on live streaming, and we're cracking the can on it. We're cracking the can on live streaming. That's why you're seeing all this disruption. That's why the same thing with Mixer. You think Mixer was doing what they wanted? No, they were a gateway drug to Xbox to pass the 360 pass or whatever the hell they call it, right? So Microsoft was the same way. Mixer wasn't authentically going to be a competitor in the space because they weren't disrupting the space. So for me, when I'm looking at all things equal and like moving my career to different platforms, I'm kind of like, why am I going to go the same big brother system? And it was a once in a lifetime opportunity for this kind of thing to happen. And that's why I came over here. And secondly, because Eddie had a vision and he's executing on the vision.
Yeah, amazing vision. Yeah, I love that you said it's not a pressure, it's a responsibility. That's like so beautiful. It's no pressure, responsibility. It's good to be responsible.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, responsible in many regards, right? I think, again, even towards the conversation that we had earlier in regards to how we moderate and stuff, it goes a long way. It goes a long way. And I think that's the thing that definitely didn't realize getting into this industry. I think it's been a wild 2 years, right? It's been wild. And I think it's only getting more and more exciting. That's the best part about this. I must say, I think Andrew said it right. It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think like many people in business get the chance to be a part of like such an exciting like industry that has so many moving parts to it, that has so much, so many interesting problems to solve and such an engaged community. And not to mention you get the opportunity to kind of go up against like, I say this all the time, like going up against Amazon is like pretty cool, like given, it's not exactly a small competitor. So, the opportunity to kind of give them a run for their money, hopefully, it's awesome, and we enjoy it. And I think hopefully, all the creators who are putting that faith in us go, wait a second, we put our eggs in the right basket, and we've been well looked after, and ultimately, end up looking back on that decision to use Kick and utilize Kick in the early days is like, wow, that was one of my best decisions I made. And as you mentioned before, the way you love Kick as well. Hopefully, more people end up sort of being able to say the same thing down the line.
Yeah, I love Kick, and I tell everyone about it. Like people who don't understand it in my day-to-day life, like I've noticed I've made them love it, and now they watch streamers because it's unlike anything else. It's literally the new Comedy Central. I can literally say that until my teeth fall out. But what if you were to want to see more content on Kick? Like, what would you want to see more of that you maybe there is a lot of, or something that you just like the type of content that people put out? What would you want to see more of?
We need more gaming. We need more gaming in esports as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I love IRL, and I think the future of IRL is massive, and I will say it from all the time. Mm-hmm. But live streaming is based on gaming. Gaming is the backbone of live streaming. It is the vast majority of content. Esports as well, right? It's such a core fundamental part of live streaming, and it's an area that we need to catch up on. So, we're doing our best to do that. I think at the end of the day, a lot of that's going to come down to making sure we have the right product to support people. I think also making sure that the brand is viewed in the right way to attract a lot of streamers that are more engaged in that type of content. But in order for Kick to continue to sort of gain dominance, it needs to attract more gamers. And we need to find out how to make sure that we can appeal to them. But with that said, I think we're also open-minded in the way that we understand that the live streaming industry is changing, right? And we need to be ready to take on these new genres, these new types of content. To what Andrew was saying before, the world changes, right? And what people believe to be great content or great genres is going to change, and we need to be ready to embrace what comes next, right? I think IRL is always used as that kind of that example of an area in which we're innovating on and allowing for people to try something new. But who knows what's next? We need to be ready to make sure we're able to jump on that as well and embrace it and continue to let live streaming in general innovate. But at the same time, not forget what built live streaming and what still is by far the largest aspect of it, which is gaming.
Yeah. And personally, I really respect gamers because I don't know how they do it. I'm so bad at gaming. What do you think your favorite thing about owning Kick is? Like if you could think of what's like the first thing that pops into your head?
I think it's the feedback that you get from people who genuinely genuinely have that kind of life-changing experience. There is so much positive feedback, right? Obviously, there's a lot of people that speak down on Kick, but then there is a lot of people who speak so highly of it, and that it warms your heart, right? It's something which it really ends up making your day when you read that one comment, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's on X, or whether it's on someone's Kick chat that you're just dropping by. People genuinely love what we're doing, and that's awesome. It's not often you get to work in any business where people like genuinely love what you do, right? Business typically is separate, right? People don't typically care too much. They go to McDonald's and they leave, right? They don't go, I love McDonald's so much. This is amazing. You guys changed my life, right? Or they don't go to what's that big store you guys have in the US? That mega one.
Like Walmart?
Walmart, that's the one I was looking for. But people don't go to Walmart and go, I fucking love Walmart, you changed my life. Like, people walk in there, they leave, right? But streaming's different. People come in there, go, I love this place. Like, you guys changed my life. You guys are doing so much for me. Like, it's such a unique opportunity. There's not many businesses where people, people end up truly loving what you do, right? And I think it's such a unique opportunity. It's back to that point that what Andrew mentioned. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity that we get to be in such an engaged industry. And that's, that's by far the most unique aspect of it. And I don't think you can really find too many other businesses where you get that same level of satisfaction from your customers. So that it surprises me every day still, the amount of love that we get. Again, it does come with its equal counterpart of people sort of talking down on Kick, but I think it's all those incredible comments that make up for it tenfold.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. I gotta hop to a panel. This place is rock and rolling, but I just want to say bye and thank you for having me on here, and thank you for the discussion, Krista. I want to continue the relationship. Let's keep building off of what we did with the IRL policy here, and we would love to have you on again. But I gotta hop, and I apologize, guys, big time. Chat, thank you so much for having us, and I hope Jack Doherty is safe and sound. Guys, I don't know if you saw reading up on chat. I think he might have gotten in an accident, but I hope he's safe. But thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Andrew, sir.
Thanks, Andrew.
See you, Andrew.
Have a good time.
Good luck.
I love your necklace. I want that. I want that necklace.
Awesome. Was there any other questions from your side, Hannah, or?
I think that's about it. I maybe have another technical one, but it's fine.
Awesome. I tell you what, I reckon we might call it a wrap then. It's 3:30 here in Australia, so I'm going to end up saying something I'm going to regret and get clipped out of context, and I might end up on Kick News.
Oh, we would hope.
Yeah. No, but thank you so much, guys, for coming on. Obviously, I think, really, really great episode as always. And no, it was, pushed back a couple of times. So thank you for readjusting schedules to make this work.
Of course. It was so nice meeting you, Krista.
Yes, nice meeting you as well. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I love all the insight. I loved learning about everything. And I love Kick so much. Kick really has changed my life. It really has. I will die saying that.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Krista, as well. It was really great. It was really great getting to properly chat. And I think, as always, our DMs, our messaging, we're open. We're looking for the feedback. And I think, some of those questions and points you brought up, again, I think we need people like you holding us accountable. We want to see a positive future for Kick, and I do appreciate you bringing some of those tough questions there. It was it's really good to have those open conversations. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, I would love nothing more than to see Kick thrive. I would hate for something silly and some silly creator to do something out of pocket to jeopardize what you guys are building here, because it is genuinely exciting for the creator community. And, you know, unfortunately, we don't want the bad apples to spoil the bunch, right? So, you guys are doing amazing. I love the innovation. I love everything you're doing. So keep that up, and happy to provide insight if there's any needed.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys. You have an incredible day, I guess. Yeah.
You too have a
Thanks,
great
sir.
evening.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye. Nice meeting both of you.
You too.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty. That was a good episode. Bigger streamers should help the little people. Yeah, that's a big part of what we try to push. I think a big initiative we have right now is trying to find ways to get people to interact more often with the smaller streamers. Yeah, Hannah's energy is contagious. That's incredible. But I tell you what, talking to Krista, then that was really great. I think she means so well, right? Like, I think what she wants for the live streaming space. She just wants positivity. I don't think she wants to stop any creativity, right, at all. I think what she mentioned there at the very end is actually a really valid point. I think something we probably should have discussed a bit further during the talk itself. But live streaming platforms are sometimes just one major issue away from ceasing to exist. Like, D Live is a great example. They had the, in the US, there was that I think it was January 6th, was it? Or something, that Capitol raid. And they allowed people to live stream that, and they lost all their payment methods, all their third-party providers. They had to completely, the platform died after that, right? So sometimes streaming is just one really bad event that goes unmoderated away from really changing and dying, right? So Kick has to be super careful on that front, and we have to be proactive on that front and be careful of ensuring that there isn't any harmful content going down that can subsequently affect the platform's longevity. I think she only means very well and is incredibly intelligent in the space and knows it back to front. Do esports competitions with prize pools, stake plus Kick sponsor? Yeah, we want to get into esports. We need to get into esports. Like, we were speaking to Jason Lake recently, right, on Kick Talk, and we want to get more involved in esports. We have to, and that as Hannah just asked, right, the idea was we need to get more into gaming. Gaming is something that Kick isn't a big enough player in yet. We're a minority player. I think we can. Supporting it through tournaments, I think would be a great way to innovate in it. I know esports is struggling a little tiny bit in some areas, depending on what esport it is, but there's certainly so much room to do some great stuff there. Save Joel Subathon. Okay, well, let's go save Joel Subathon. We'll go save Joel Subathon. Okay. Let's go save it. Come to Joel Subathon. Let's save it. Eddie, can you get Sneeko to Kick? Man, I don't get involved in the sponsorship side anymore. It's not my area, not my own area. The partners team manage all that. That's their bread and butter. Eddie, Jack just had a massive accident. I'll need to check up on that. I hope he's well. I think Andrew just mentioned something about that, right? All right, we're saving Joel Subathon right now. The subs are going through. Have you been to Sweden? No, I've never been to Sweden before. I'd love to go there.
Are you raising me? Okay. Oh, shout out to Eddie. Thank you, Eddie.
All right, sweet. Joel Subathon is saved. Eddie, love you, bud. Having a blast at DreamHack? Hell yeah, man. You have an incredible time, Burkel. I'll be tuning in and watching some of your stream. Good stuff, man. Eddie, what do you think about N3 30 days? Not sure what that is. ban using phones whilst driving. He's lucky to be alive. Yeah, I'm not across the situation. We need to look into that. But, safety and what we just discussed before on the platform is like paramount. Yeah, I think I caught Joe in the shower just then. I think he was all above TOS though. Don't worry. All right, guys. Like I said to Hannah and Kirst just before, I think it's getting to 3:30 a.m. now. I might end up jumping off, but as always, it has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you guys. Really appreciate you all dropping by and watching Kick Talk episode 14. Big shout out to Kristabyte. Big shout out to Hannah for coming on. Like I said, we pushed them back last week and they adjusted their schedule, woke up real early to come on. And I think, some really good conversation there. Massive support from Hannah, which is great. If you haven't checked out Hannah's Kick News, you have to do it. It's really great. She's been running it for over a year now. Kick News is I like to think the greatest thing about Kick News is it takes like the IRL streaming and all these aspects of Kick and it just balances it out. It showcases so much wholesome activities and interactions that happen on Kick platform, because there is so much, right? We hear about all the crazy stuff, but we don't hear about all the positive stuff, and the Kick News like highlights all that, and it's so cool. It really is great. I'd definitely ask you guys to check that out. But on that note as well, also, check out, Kristabyte's Right to Unmute. Obviously, I'm not sure if you guys heard her, were hanging around when she first explained the initiative, but, they're doing some really, really great stuff there, in terms of addressing some really key problems with gaming and how they can make a difference. I think what she mentioned in regards to how they're really using data to try to push forward what they're doing. And that's great. I think, a lot of people start getting behind, causes, but they don't actually know how to quantify success. Like you see this a lot nowadays. You see it a lot. Like people don't know how to quantify success. Like I want to make this better, but they don't know how they're going to make it better or how they're going to quantify success or what good looks like. But, Kristabyte went straight in there and said, hey, look, everything we're doing is data driven. Like we're running this based on key stats, which is really, really cool. And I think doing a great job there. So if you haven't checked out Right to Unmute, do so as well. I think, she's a testament to a person who's just trying to do some really great stuff in the broader scene. But yeah, I think that's everything. Eddie, why did Jack go? Listen, I'm not across this Jack situation. This is just coming up right now. I've got no idea what's going on there. I need to probably catch up on what's happened. But again, our job's to enforce whatever the terms of service are. Yeah. Anyway, guys, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back next. We'll be back next weekend, Kick Talk episode 15. I've got to double check exactly who the guests are. We'll find out who it is. As always, I've said this every single episode. The simple fact that you guys are here wanting to listen to what we're doing here on Kick is such a luxury. It's such an honor. I thank you guys so much for tuning in, listening to Andrew, listening to Hannah, listening to Kristabyte and me all speak about Kick, speak about live streaming in general. It's so awesome that you guys care enough to spend your time watching this and hearing what we're doing and supporting the platform in general, just being here. So, without you guys, there is no Kick, of course. So, it means a lot, especially there's so many verified streamers in here as well. I see you guys, so many people I recognize from other communities, chat rooms as well, which is awesome. You guys are the backbone of this website, this platform. But guys, thank you very much. Let's quickly host someone as well. Let me quickly find the right person to host. Let me take a look.